Hey, what's up, guys? A couple games here for you today on a map that I'm not particularly fond of seeing when I'm in a light tank, I'll be completely honest. And it's Tundra. And I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of this map. Being high tier, I still think it's too small. I think it should be lower. That's just my opinion. But we have to live with it. So, just to give you an idea, instead of showing, I've gotten some comments, like, I always show a lot of games that are on fairly light tank friendly maps. So I kind of went over that a little bit with the video I put out a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago by now, but I kind of showcased what I do on like city maps and my light tanks. But what about maps like this? They aren't city maps, but they're real small and kind of corridor based, stuff like that. There's not a lot of room to maneuver, basically. And what I really, just give you an idea of how I like to play this. So, especially this game in the Sheridan was very quick, very fast paced. And some luck, I don't know how that penned, but the other's going to go with it. And not complaining. But, like I said, the real thing is, and I've said this I think several times in a couple of videos, and it's just really map awareness and understanding what your tank's capable of. So at this point there's two tier 10 heavies right here, and they're a little distracted, so I'm going to peek over and put a heat shell in. The reason I'm putting the heat in, I could pen the 57 fairly reliably in the turret, but it gets kind of trolly with that tank. In the turret, so I just decided to load some heat rounds to make sure I pen. Now this guy's basically a one shot, so I'm just going to peek out real carefully and we're just, bounce. And that's what I'm talking about. Is that tank just trolls the ever living hell out of me, and right there, I'm not prepared for that. And that's why I don't like these real short maps like this, because you're turning blind corners all the time. We nearly get nuked by a Death Star. I just don't like these maps for light tanks. I say that as I'm going to be playing probably it's an ace tanker gameplay. But there's just not much to really use the strength of the light tank to on these type of maps. Minus the mobility. You can't use your camo really. You really can't use your re-range. You're kind of relegated to being a fast medium tank. And why I like doing the damage, I like doing it where I'm not on the edge of my seat going after full health E100s all the time. I know that's maybe a little surprising, but I really don't like doing this kind of stuff all the time. I'd rather just have easier damage. Not that this is struggling, but I just would prefer to use the strength of my vehicle rather than trying to take into a situation that's not really that case. But just my 2 cents on that. These maps are, they're part of the game. You're going to have to deal with it. And like I said, you see me here, usually going for a lot of tracking. The E100 shot was pretty lucky, but also kind of, you gotta make your own luck. I gave my best shot to track him, because I know it's my only real chance of circling him and getting around his side. And then we're able to track the 257, I think, which is lucky, considering that tank's, when you track it, you don't actually do damage to it most of the time. And luckily, we do not pen this guy. You see we're actually loading HE, and I thought he would add more health, but he gets hit. But we still would have put HE around into his tank and take him off the board. Again, these are just a pretty quick game, but I thought it'd be kind of helpful for you guys. I don't go into a lot of details about how to really approach these maps totally. It's mostly just the same thing of just picking off tanks that aren't paying attention to when tanks fire and stuff like that. But again, it's an ace tanker on a map that you probably won't see that often on the channel. So yeah, I thought I'd just kind of show it to y'all to give you an idea that it is possible to have good games on maps that aren't Westfield, Proc, Malinofka, and all that. So you don't have to feel totally disheartened. Unfortunately, I think right here my capture card takes a little bit of a dump at the end of that, so just ignore that. That's just my computer overheating. Yeah, so this second matchup is a little even more or less favorable. One, because we're going to be in the Hawk 12, so tier 8. And it's going to be a tier 10 game. And we're not in a platoon this time. So we're going to have to make things kind of work. Yeah. With games like this. And you really have to try to fight for damage in games like this, in matchups when you're in your tier 8s or tier 7s or whatever. When you're +2 down, basically, or -2. So I'm still going to do my initial spots, or at least try to. Am I going to get much damage off, or assisted damage? No, probably not. Could I? There's a possibility, yeah. So, I mean, it's always worth a shot. Rather than just trying to hide in the back the entire game and then come out. So we're able to only light up like 2 tanks. So it probably gives a good indication that a good amount of them are going to be over here. This setup of this, I think is a little unfair. Just because they get the hill first, which is a pretty important part of this map. It's basically like, I'd almost say it's the equivalent of Mines, the Mines Hill. I'm glad that's not a tier 10 anymore, if you ask anybody. I know some people like that. I did not like that map at the high tiers, just because it was mostly based off of luck. If you won the hill, if the other team had more mediums or something like that, well, too bad you lose. That's basically how it went most of the time. Were there some outliers? Yeah, sure, but it just wasn't for me. Now you see here, like, it's just that you have to look for shots. Just poking corners that you really wouldn't poke usually, or they don't expect you to. Getting unspotted, basically. Because again, on these maps, very hard, because it's only, I don't know the exact dimensions off the top of my head, but I think it's probably only around a 600 by 600 times map, if I'm not mistaken. And here's a little risky. I'm not trying to get shot by the Action 10. I mean, for all I know, he could have hatch loaded, and that would just ruin my day. So, oh, excuse me. Yeah, at this point, you see that their team, or at least I have, that their team is kind of pushed up on this other flank. And why not try to just push the issue a little bit? I'm a little tier 8 tank, so even if I don't, I can have a big impact with little threat to my team of actually like hindering their performance. Basically, is what I'm trying to go at. And it can be a little more aggressive, because even if I die, I know I'm a pretty okay player, but I'm only in a tier 8 light tank on a map that's just not exactly friendly to these type of tanks. Now, do I recommend ramming an IS-4 in your light tanks? No, don't do that. And again, you saw I had HE rounds loaded. Again, it's not totally reliable on this tank, and the velocity on these is god awful. So just be aware when you're using these things of how much you're going to delete your shot and stuff like that. Now, at this point in the game, I actually kind of, I don't want to say I was not in a platoon, but I kind of start rocking and rolling with this other light tank. And just kind of supporting him and helping him take out these targets one by one. Now, unfortunately, we probably could have loaded heat here just to make sure we pen this E100 reliably. But now we're close in, I'm fairly confident I can just pen his turret from the rear and just pen the rear of his tank also. Now here I'm just trying to get into some cover because I know they still have tanks up on the hill. So just take cover real quick. Just pay attention. Be aware that they probably have something on the hill shooting down at this flank, and they have the Scorpion G and also a T-28 Prot that gets spotted, I think. Yeah, sure enough. And now at this point, I see the Scorpion G dives down, and I know as soon as he dives down, he's dead, because you basically cannot get off this hill from where he was at without dying. I've experienced that firsthand. But you see here, we're just going to keep this guy spotted, and he's never going to get his barrel around, and we track him in place for the 13105 and take him down also. Now here, something I don't anticipate, and it nearly kills me, is that the Waffle is actually looking this way. I should have caught that, just my opinion. I poked out, and initially I probably should have saw that he was looking this way, but it's just there's a little attention to like detail things that you look back on now, and it's easy to say, "Oh, I should have seen that." And yeah, it could be hard on myself, I guess, but it's just how you're gonna get better, honestly. And even after 5 years on this game, just going off his stats alone, I guess I'm still technically getting better at the game if you look at it that way. And that's just what I kind of use to gauge, but there's other ways. So, you see this game's gotten a lot closer. It's 8-8, and now we have these two heavies that are coming up towards us. So I'm going to put one more shot into this guy, and then I'm going to bail, because I'm definitely a one-shot for both of them, actually, depending on the roll. But I'm about 50-50, so I'm not risking that. And I think the 50 TP, I think it's 50 TP. I'm definitely a one-shot, because I think he has 440 out for a 490. Oh, it's Tiger 2. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe not totally a one-shot for Tiger 2, but the Conqueror very easily could. So, we're just poking with our turret. It's something I do in these type of tanks. Again, it's just so I can minimize how much of the tank I'm actually showing, and I can pull back super quick. Again, this is risky because I'm just hoping this TD does some work. And then the Tiger 2 goes up, and I see the conch fire, and I'm going to bail out and go right between them and split those heavies, basically. Because that Tiger 2 was going to push me, and I wasn't just a huge fan of staying there for that. So at this point, you could go back up and help, but I'm pretty sure they've got that under control. 13105 is going to mop them up fairly easily. And sure enough, both of those tanks on the hill are fine to take out. They're 2 tanks. So it's a good call. Just sometimes you have to gauge that to get more damage off. It's kind of awkward right here with the gun depression. I'm thinking he's going to turn initially and shoot me right away. But he does not. And here we can back up and wait until he's fully angled. Actually shoot there, since it's probably less of an angle for us. And he just fired, so I knew I can go in. It's safe. I can still use AP rounds. Go a little slower over the edge just so I don't die to physics. Definitely make sure this guy does not hit me. He could actually probably kill me just by reversing into me, if I'm completely honest. And I can't remember. No, we don't get the kill on this guy. Yeah, 13105 comes along and picks up the kill. Not a problem, though. Good game for that kind of matchup. Our little googly eyes are proud. With just over 4,000 damage. All in Tundra. 1900 base. I'm happy with that result. And a little tier 8 tank. So you have a good result. And just play a little risky. I know I'm kind of known for that. I don't always promote the risky gameplay, but sometimes you can just do it because, well, you're a tier 8 tank in a really tier 10 matchup. If you die, your team can probably still win the game, depending. Just depends on the map, especially that map. Those close corridor maps, it's not as important. You don't need vision, really, for the most part. Now, if you're on something like Mali or something like that, you probably don't want to be as risky because you play a pretty important part in keeping control of vision for your team, especially in later parts of the game, if you're still alive. So it's pretty important. There's a difference between how you play other maps, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And how aggressive you can be. See you next time. Peace.